Ever since I was a little kid watching Justice League on a VHS tape in my grandparents' basement, I have had this fascination with the character of Batman. Out of all the bright, hopeful, colorful characters in that show, I gravitated towards the edgy emo. And I have loved that edgy emo ever since. I have read comic books, watched TV shows, watched some very good and some very bad movies, but the video games were always my favorite. My good friend Kluch is currently working on a mini-series where he's going to review all of the Batman movies, and I had this idea brewing in the back of my mind where I thought I might go and review all of the Batman video games. But there's 41 of those. So, in order to hit the deadline for this video and to keep it under 5 hours, instead I figured that I would go over what I consider probably the best franchise for superhero video games, the Arkham series. It's hard to describe my love for these video games. I played the first Arkham game at my uncle's house when I was about 7 years old, and I just turned 22, and I'm still playing them to this day. On Steam and my PS5, I've logged just under 383 hours on all 4 of these games, and that's not even including the Xbox 360 that I originally played Asylum and City on. Point being, I love these games. They were a big part of my childhood, and they had a big impact on how I view the character of Batman. So today I'd like to take a look back on these games that had such a big impact on me and just see how they stand up to more modern standards. Also, I really recommend you check out the Kluch's video after you watch this one. His content is great, and there will be a link in the description down below.
Ain't these tears in my eyes telling you?
Now, before we get into it, I'd like to speak a little bit about Kevin Conroy. When he passed around 8 months ago, I wasn't making videos, and since I've been back, I haven't had the proper chance to say anything. But for me and my friends growing up with the animated series and the Justice League, and playing the games that I'm reviewing now, Kevin Conroy was the Batman. And not only did he have the perfect voice to match this character, he actually understood this character.
Kevin would come in and go, "No, I don't think Batman would quite say it like this," or "No, this is how I want to say this line," and we're like, "Okay, cool. Awesome, let's go for it."
I mentioned it in my video about Heart of Ice. He knew that the so-called Batman voice was this character's real voice, and that Bruce Wayne is the costume, the persona. I think it's very rare to have a connection between character and actor like the one Kevin Conroy and Batman had. And I really believe the character of the Batman is going to be worse off without him.
Everyone says, "What other superhero would you want to play?" And I said, "Are you kidding? What other superhero is there? I got the best one."
So with that being said, thank you, Kevin, for bringing my childhood hero to life. You will be and are already sorely missed.
Need to take my temperature? I'd be happy to drop my pants.
Arkham Asylum is very unique. When looking at older Batman games, they're essentially very similar to the Treyarch Spider-Man movie games, which isn't an insult by any stretch of the imagination. Spider-Man 2 on the GameCube was my jam back when I was a kid, but the gameplay is kind of boiled down to combat and exploration, which, to be fair, in the very early world of 3D video games, especially superhero video games, is kind of the standard. But Arkham Asylum changed everything, specifically for superhero video games. I remember the years following Arkham Asylum, everything in this genre was just a copy-paste mess. Specifically the Andrew Garfield Spider-Man games, they just straight up ripped off the combat, like they weren't even trying to hide it. And there was a reason for it. I mean, I think this combat system is really rock solid, especially for a character like the Batman, where he doesn't really have any superpowers. This combat system does what I really love for video game mechanics. It's very easy to get into. I mean, essentially to fight in this game, really you only have to use 2 buttons, the attack and counter. But you can go a lot deeper. The combat system has a low floor but a very high ceiling. Just look at a channel like Batman Arkham videos. Take a look at some of his combat challenge videos. Like I said, I've been playing these games for like 400 hours, and yeah, I cannot do that. But that being said, the combat in and of itself is very simple, but looks very flashy, especially in the later games. And that's just the combat. The way Asylum really separated itself from the other superhero games at the time is the fact that yes, it's a very fun beat-em-up style game, but it's also a very good stealth game. I think that is the aspect where you really can feel like Batman the most. I hate that saying, it's very overused. But if you could take down a room of 7 armed thugs in 19 seconds, yeah, I fucking feel like Batman. Since we're already on a positive note, let's talk about some of the other things I liked. I'm just going to say this once since it's kind of obvious throughout all the games, but without a doubt, the voice cast in these games are hands down the best thing about them. Kevin Conroy as Batman and Mark Hamill as Joker, they absolutely steal the show for anything that they're in. Even something like LEGO DC supervillains, they still manage to be iconic, and obviously that's the case here. And for a game that came out 14 years ago, the graphics have aged remarkably well. There are little things like some of the character models don't look like real people, and there's the issue that there's 3 character models and probably 2 voice actors for the thugs in this game, and it gets old real fast, but it's not like a cardinal sin or anything, so I'll let it slide. This is true for all these games, but especially this one. The love that these developers clearly have for this world and these characters really makes it feel special. They have some stuff in here that casual fans as well as Batman nerds like me will really like. And this one is a small thing, but I really like the little drawings they have for the character bios. In the later games they replaced it with the 3D character models, and that sucks. I feel like these gave these minor characters, and even ones that don't actually appear in the game, a lot more personality. Plus they just look really good. Something that might surprise you to find out, I really like the Riddler trophies. Okay, sue me.
It's not you who needs answers here, it's me. You answer my riddles and I tell you where they are. You answer my riddles and they don't die.
Joke's on you, I'm into that shit!
I found every single one of these in all of these games. I don't know, I guess I've always liked puzzles, especially in this game in Arkham City. I just think that the Riddler puzzles are really fun. Maybe not so much in Arkham Knight, but with a map that big, it's just kind of hard to make these kind of puzzles fun. Probably my favorite moment in any of these games is in this first one. It's one of the Scarecrow encounters where the screen glitches out and you get to play as Joker for a bit. Look, I was maybe 9 or 10 whenever I first played this game, and when I was younger, I fucking abused my Xbox 360. So whenever I got that glitched, I ran and I turned off my Xbox because I got scared that I broke the game. Then I turned it back on, the same thing happened, and I just fucking sat there defeated because I thought I wouldn't be able to play this really fun Batman game anymore. But then, like 2 seconds later, I realized how stupid I was. Also, when you get to the death screen a little bit later, the hint says to use the middle stick to dodge the Joker's gun, and I looked down at my controller to look for it. Hey, I never claimed I was smart. That's why I'm a YouTuber. Okay, now we're going to talk about some of the things I didn't like so much. One of the things I think I was most disappointed by are the boss battles. I'm not sure if it was nostalgia or what, but man, I really remember these being better. I knew I didn't like the Joker boss battle. I've actually talked about that one before, but man, pretty much all of these are really fucking lackluster for me. Bane and Poison Ivy are just very boring and repetitive, and on higher difficulties, just plain tedious. I played all these games on their hardest difficulty. I got by Bane pretty easily, but damn man, Poison Ivy was annoying. If you want to consider Scarecrow a boss battle, I did think his levels were pretty fun, but again, the repetitive nature comes back again. All of these levels, while enjoyable, are pretty much the same thing. I think the biggest issue I have with this game in particular is just plain and simple the ending. In my opinion, the story just falls flat on its face at the end. I think the story is actually probably the weakest in the series with the Titan plotline, but the Joker and Mark Hamill driving it forward, it made it compelling. But all that just disappears when we have to fight a big monster Joker at the end. It's not enough to make the game bad by any means, but that was very disappointing to me now and even as a kid when I first played this game. Now, this part again is effectively something that applies to all of these games in the series, and this is something that is a lot more personal to me. And if you disagree with this one, I'd have no problem with it whatsoever. I just think I don't like the Batman that's being portrayed all that much in these games. I'm not saying he's out of character, he's definitely a Batman. All I'm saying is that in my life, I've seen a lot of Batman. Old Batman, young Batman, evil Batman, Batman that likes nachos.
Batman does not eat nachos!
I've seen them all, and my personal preference has always been the Justice League and Justice League Unlimited Batman. This Batman is a hero. This Batman loves his friends.
Mine are bigger than yours.
This Batman is constantly getting hit on by Wonder Woman.
No dating for the Batman. It might cut into your brooding time.
But this Batman is still firm in his beliefs.
You want me to what?
Turn yourself over into U.S. custody, along with the rest of us.
This is the single dumbest plan I've ever heard. If you're feeling guilty, clear your own name. Don't stand on the sidelines waiting for somebody else to do it.
And this Batman is the kind of man to sit with a little girl and hold her hand as she passes. He's still Batman, but without a doubt he feels like a superhero, and he's my favorite interpretation of this character. The Arkham Batman feels a little less like a hero and more like a crime fighter. Feels more like this Batman is more about beating the shit out of criminals than he is about saving civilians. And in all honesty, I understand. This is a video game, and first and foremost, a video game has to feel fun. And what's more fun than beating up bad guys as Batman? But a part of me really wishes they could have found a way to fit in more scenes like this one between Batman and Nightwing in the last game.
So here's the part where you tell me off.
I'm proud of you, Dick.
Are you feeling okay?
This is the end. This is the last time we meet.
Don't talk like that. Alright, this won't stop you. Nothing stops you.
Keep Bloodhaven safe. Promise me.
It's okay, Bruce. I get it. You just don't want me hanging around, stealing the limelight.
Dick.
I won't let you down.
I know.
This is the kind of Batman I want. A broody, tough, quiet, fucking badass. But also one that loves his son, that loves his family. I don't know. Like I said, that's a very personal gripe that I have with these games, but one I figured I ought to put in here. Overall, I really do like this game. Without this game, we wouldn't have gotten any of the other games in the series, and I believe we wouldn't have gotten a game like Insomniac's Spider-Man, without Arkham Asylum laying the foundation. It paved a new way for superhero games, and fucking, yeah, it really makes me feel like Batman.
That actually is pretty funny.
Now time for my clear bias. I love this game. I always have. Even at the time back when it came out in 2011, a year where Skyrim, Portal 2, and Uncharted 3 all came out, besides Skyrim, I probably played Arkham City the most. Before we get into anything else, I just want to talk about this game's mechanics and just the progression from game to game. Without a doubt, these games show a clear and very fast form of progression. While Arkham Asylum really changed the game for combat in the superhero genre, going back to play it after playing Arkham Knight and that very fast form of combat is pretty difficult. But that's kind of the point. In the span of only 6 years, from 2009 to 2015, we went from this to this. And while I wouldn't say that Arkham City is in any way the best form of its gameplay, I think it's a happy medium, where the combat and stealth and exploration is still very solid, and it's made up for with by far the best story and side missions, and the best boss battle in the entire series. I won't go into it here, but I made a whole video about how much I love this Mr. Freeze boss battle. And that whole vibe is kind of how I feel about this game. From the Azrael side mission, to the Clayface boss battle at the end, to the very last scene of this game.
Are you happy now?
Do you want to know something funny? Even after everything you've done, I would have saved you.
But this game is far from perfect, and I definitely have my gripes with it. Like the Ra's al Ghul boss fight is probably my least favorite in the whole series, and I really think that Bane and especially Deadshot have so much potential and they are just wasted in this game. But even with those criticisms, I don't think it's enough to take away the fact that this is a really fun game, a fucking masterpiece. If you prefer Marvel and Spider-Man, then you probably say that the PS4 Spider-Man game is better, but it's my firm belief that this is the best superhero video game that's ever been made. And trust me, I'm very, very hyped for Spider-Man 2, and if that game is better, then I guess I'll eat my words. But just with the combination of amazing elements and all the fantastic developers and voice actors that worked on this game, I just don't see it being topped anytime soon. But if I can do this in Spider-Man 2, then yeah, I guess I'm wrong.
Now dig on this.
Okay, this one is kind of confusing to talk about. On one hand, I really didn't enjoy a large facet of this game, that being parts of the story and the Batmobile combat. And trust me, that is a very large and very stinky part of this game. But on the other hand, without a doubt, this is the most fucking beautiful video game I have ever laid my eyes on, and it came out 8 years ago. And this is easily the best combat and stealth and exploration of any of these games, and really it's not that close. And yeah, I didn't really enjoy the Batmobile gameplay during the main part of the game, but once you finish the story, you can change the skin of the Batmobile to one that doesn't have all the tank part. And let me tell you, changing it to the Batmobile from the original Arkham Asylum and driving around Gotham and ejecting out of that thing at 200 miles an hour and beating up thugs, seriously, that's all I've ever wanted from a Batman video game. And it delivers. But it is a shame that you have to jump through several hoops before you're able to experience that. Where I think this game really thrives is in two areas. the stealth gameplay, and the parts where you're able to play with one of the other members of the Bat family. The stealth in this game is really unlike any other game that I've ever played. Every now and then I'll be scrolling through YouTube and get recommended a video with a title like what 100 hours in Arkham Knight looks like or something like that, and I'm going to put one of them up on screen right now. In a way, this is more impressive than the combat I showed off earlier, and really this is what Batman is really all about. Being able to take down a room of armed thugs is the most Batman thing ever. But the other part of this game that I really enjoyed is the part of the game where you can play with the other members of the Bat family. And man, this is where it shines, and also where I get very frustrated. Because sincerely, this game has everything that I want, but just not quite in the right way. Like, I would love to play as Robin and Nightwing and fight crime as a dynamic duo with Batman. And you can, and it's so much fun. But it's like the game has to hold my hand. Like, I'm not allowed to do it when I want to, only in very specific situations or in the combat challenges away from the main game. It's pretty much the same situation as the Batmobile. Ever since I first played Arkham Asylum, I thought it would be awesome to play as Batman in the Batmobile. And while I got what I want, it's slightly off. I have to play as Batman shooting fucking guns with rubber bullets. It's what I wanted, just not quite how I imagined it. I don't know. I'm really not quite sure how to say it really. At its peak, Arkham Knight is the most fun I've ever had playing a Batman game. Going back and replaying it was much more enjoyable than I thought it would be. I had a lot of fun, but it's just bogged down by little things. Like the fact they said it wouldn't be Jason Todd as the Arkham Knight when it was super fucking obvious that it was. And the Batmobile, and the fact that they had to put in the goddamn Joker in this game. It's just a shame, man. Let the other villains get a chance to shine. Batman has one of the best rogues galleries in comics, but somehow everything is always about the Joker. In the end, I had a great time revisiting these games. I might have come off a bit negative at times, but that's just because I love this character so much that I can be hard on things he's in sometimes. I think this is easily the best series of superhero video games ever, and I could go back another time and play any of these games. And I wish I could say this is my last Batman related video for a while, but
The lie detector determined that was a lie.